Hi there, I'm Cotton and welcome to CottonHammer. In today's puddle dive we are gonna look at another minor Space Marine chapter. One of the oldest chapters, both in service to the Imperium and in 40K as a hobby. The Rainbow Warriors. A chapter that was once destined for glory but was then just forgotten by Games Workshop. Now, without any further faffing about, let's follow the rainbow to discover its origin.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So, who are the Rainbow Warriors? The Rainbow Warriors are one of the oldest Space Marine chapters in existence, featured in the original Rogue Trader, also known as the first edition of 40K. This was a time before Astartes legions, Primarchs, or even the entire Horus Heresy was even a thing. But this isn't a video on Rogue Trader. That really deserves its own video, cause that time was wild.
Bruh, look at this dude.
So, let's just take away that things were really different back then, and you wouldn't recognize it as today's 40K. Save maybe for some names. And even then, only the names. And talking about names, the Rainbow Warriors have actually earned their name from the Greenpeace ship of the same name, the Rainbow Warrior. This ship was destroyed when it got blown the fuck up by the French government. We don't really know if Games Workshop made this as a homage to the ship or just to make fun of the French. But there you go. So that's their inception. But from there it gets fucking weird. Basically, the Rainbow Warriors have two lores. To elaborate, Games Workshop has invented the Rainbow Warriors, but then basically just forgot about them. They mention them like once every 20 years or so at about the same rate as people call their grandma. So why are they still so popular? Because where Games Workshop was slacking, the fans took on the job on writing decent lore about them. If you ever looked up the Rainbow Warriors, you have probably seen them depicted as these Aztec warriors, with all the feathery and colorful garb that goes with it. That's because that version of the Rainbow Warriors was actually written by Philip Sibbering, who isn't associated with GW, but did a really bang up fantastic job of fleshing out the lore about them. So in this puddle dive, we are going to talk about both versions of the Rainbow Warriors.
Double rainbow, oh my god.
Because if I were only to talk about the Games Workshop version, this puddle dive would be 5 minutes long, and 4 minutes of that would be my shitty jokes. No. Also, I was first planning to pull a sneaky on you all by first talking about the GW approved lore, and only then mentioning the Aztec version, but I could already hear the clickety-clackety of angry keyboards about how I forgot this or that, or how I got this or that wrong, and so on. That's why I think this way is much better for our collective sanity. So please, enjoy this 2-for-1 deal.
That's bloody good value.
Let's first start with the original GW lore. If you are only interested in the Aztec version, then you can just click on the marked chapter in this video, either on the timeline or in the description. So, as mentioned before, the Rainbow Warriors are present since the earliest days of 40K, in the 1980s. It's during this time that the Rainbow Warriors were shown to us as one of the original chapters in 40K. Or well, Rogue Trader technically. Things like founding legions didn't exist back then. The only thing that was actually confirmed that's still unchanged today is that the Dark Angels were the first of Big E's Marines. The Rainbow Warriors were shown with a blue similar to the Ultramarines, with the beloved multicolored stripe on the helmet. Their chapter symbol is this white winged lightning bolt on blue armor, or inverse colors on banners, as you can see. And they seem to be a standard Codex compliant chapter. That's basically all the info we ever got from Rogue Trader. They were never mentioned anywhere else, and there weren't many stories to begin with back then. The last thing we ever saw of the Rainbow Warriors for over 20 years was one of their warriors, Brother Vermilion, who ate shit when he got shot by Sister Sin, the first ever official depiction of a Sister of Battle. I'd be up to do some sins with Sister Sin if you know what I'm saying. In case you're thinking that maybe that little box of text over there says something interesting on why Brother Vermilion is being put down like a rabid dog. Nope, it doesn't. It's just some flavor text on how the Imperium works. We later discover that they have their own homeworld, named Prism. They were founded in the 32nd millennium as a successor chapter of the Ultramarines. Either as a third founding chapter or possibly sometime later in the 32nd millennium. We don't have an exact date. Later on we would discover a map of the most famous chapters. When we take a close enough look we do find our planet Prism, but it now says record deleted and doesn't list a chapter, though we can clearly see the Rainbow Warriors chapter symbol right there. This makes it all very mysterious. If it would say record expunged, we would know that some SCP fucked them up. But nope, says deleted. They are not listed as traitors or renegades. And the world also isn't listed as destroyed or abandoned like other planets. Maybe they posted cringe on social media and got cancelled?
Oh no, cringe!
Whatever happened to them or their world, nobody knows. I could say nobody knows except GW, but nah, I doubt they know either. Though a favorite speculation is that they got in hot waters with the Inquisition and they sent the Sisters of Battle after them to wipe them out. Which is of course a reference to that old picture of sinister Sister Sin sinning all over sinful Brother Vermilion for his sins. But this seems very unlikely because the loyalists who talk about them seem to regard them favorably. So no heresy here. Okay, maybe a little heresy, as a tweet. So, did they at least have some cool battles in their long but very empty lifespan? Well, we actually got two. First we got the Blood Star campaign, in the year 748 of the 41st millennium. During this campaign the Scarus sector got absolutely fucked when the warp decided it wanted to shit out a few boatloads of demons right there and then. We have absolutely no info on who led that incursion or what its greater goal was. Nothing. So we can safely assume that this immense loss of life and random destruction happened because the Chaos Gods thought it would be funny. Anyway, during this campaign 3 chapters threw themselves into the way of the demons to halt their rampage. These were the Relictors, the Firehawks and of course our Rainbow Warriors. All 3 suffered heavy losses, including the deaths of all 3 chapter masters. The second battle we know about is during the War in the Museum. The War in the Museum was on the personal planet of Trazen the Infinite, also known as 40K's favorite kleptomaniac Pokemon trainer. The planet is named Solemnus, though I'm pretty sure Trazen is gonna insist you pronounce it Solemn Ace. Cause he knows he's the greatest ace in the galaxy.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was.
Basically what happened was that Trazen was fucking around with some Tyranids. Those Tyranids decided they didn't want to be fucked around with and would do the fucking around instead. So after fucking around, Trazen did find out. The Tyranids started rampaging through his museum and breaking a ton of his displays.
Can you not?
If you don't know, Trazen also steals and displays actual real soldiers and creatures in stasis fields. And some of those exhibits can be the actual size of the battlefield they depict. So it wasn't long till the Tyranid horde was numbering in the thousands. During this they broke also non-Tyranid displays. One of those contained a few of our Rainbow Warriors, who didn't hesitate to open fire on the Tyranids and purge the Xenos. Sadly we only get like a single paragraph describing how they just shred some Tyranids and then we move on in the story. What's however really interesting is that it's described how their plasma is also flickering in the colors of a rainbow. I have no idea how they do it. For all I know they might have discovered the ancient STC of RGB lighting. Huh. Maybe that's why Prism got deleted. The Adeptus Mechanicus stole the STC. Put on your tinfoil hats, boys. We got a wiki entry to edit. Please don't do that. What about named characters? Well, you got Brother Vermilion, who died for his sins. Isn't that enough? No? Well, then you're shit out of luck, cause that's all you get.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing.
They only get mentioned once more in the Deathwatch novel Mission Purge by Gav Thorpe, where they get briefly mentioned in a conversation. I'll put the excerpt on screen if you want to read the full thing, but what you gotta take away from it is that the Rainbow Warriors are definitely not traitors and are still loyal. And that even in the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, you can still point a love at a fucker for his silly name. And in the end, isn't that what it's all about? Probably not, but fuck it. So that's the official side of the lore by Games Workshop. Of course, it didn't seem that short because of my amazing narration and tasteful hilarious jokes meant only for lore connoisseurs of exquisite taste.
I can dream, Harold!
Anyway, how does all this differ from Philip's interpretation of the Rainbow Warriors? First of all, the origin is vastly different. While GW based the Rainbow Warriors on the ship of the same name, Philip actually based his lore on Mesoamerican cultures, primarily the Aztecs, and combined it with the Rainbow Warriors prophecy of some Native Americans. In this legendary reimagining, the Rainbow Warriors originate from the planet Tonal Tzinzi 3, or Tonal Tree, which is what I'm gonna call it, cause holy shit you don't wanna know how many takes it took to get that name right. And I probably still got it wrong. During the Great Crusade, Tonal Tree was integrated peacefully into the Imperium, by the Emperor and the Ultramarines. The Great Mother, the de facto leader of Tonal Tree, could see that the Emperor was a being that was able to walk between worlds. The world we could see and the world of dreams, i.e. real space and the warp. She saw in Big E the fulfillment of a prophecy and, to quote, a man with an aura of many colors, which is probably one of the nicer things said about Big E. Before the Great Crusade reached Tonal Tree, it was kind of a shithole. It was irradiated, covered with large deserts, and was basically a slightly more peaceful version of pre-unification Terra. Big E took some time out of his busy schedule to teach the people of Tonal Tree to rebuild their world with the ways of harmony, also known as science.
Yes, science!
This caused the world to flourish again and was classified as a paradise world, which is the only reason I can think of why the Imperium didn't instantly strip mine it. After the Imperium was well established on Tonal Tree, the Ultramarines set up a small fortress monastery there. The Ultramarines are referred to by the people as the original Rainbow Warriors. A fun little detail here is that the native people saw the different company shoulder trims of the various companies of the Ultramarines, and they interpreted this as being of many colors, which they attributed to the obvious fact that the Ultramarines must be lesser versions of one of their deities, Xolotl. Xolotl is also an actual deity in our own Aztec mythology. When the chapter was founded, they created a chapter symbol we all know and love. The ring represents the rainbow-colored feathers of the phoenix, which symbolizes their world rising again after the visit by Big E and the Ultramarines. And the lightning bolt represents that this marine is the personification of one of Xolotl's lightning strikes. They painted the armor blue, just like their saviors, the Ultramarines, both in tribute and in reverence. The multicolored stripe on the helmet is a reference that each marine had to cross the Rainbow Bridge into the land of the dead and be reborn as a phoenix to become one of the lightning strikes of Xolotl. It's also worthy of note that they actually do not call their chapter the Rainbow Warriors. Their chapter name is in their native and very old language, which translates roughly to Strikes of Xolotl. But each Marine individually refers to himself as a Rainbow Warrior, cause he managed to cross the Rainbow Bridge and survive. You'll see later why they make such a big deal about it. So, how does a tonal native become a genetically modified super soldier? By going over the rainbow, of course. For real though, their initiation might be among the most brutal of all Space Marine chapters. Before even a single implant is given to them, they must first pass a test to see if they are worthy of facing the Thunder God of mankind, i.e. Big E. The recruit, who has prepared his whole life for this moment, is placed upon the altar of Xolotl. There, while still fully awake and conscious, the seers of Tonal will cut out their still beating heart out of their chest. Only if the recruit can pass this test without uttering a single cry of pain or despair, and well, also doesn't fucking die, are they seen as worthy to face the Thunder God. The recruit is given his still beating heart to hold and then placed into a sarcophagus. That sarcophagus is actually a stasis chamber that keeps the recruit, well, in stasis.
Wow!
And they are eaten whole by one of the Thunder God's mighty and giant birds of prey, also known as loaded into a Thunderhawk, and brought beyond the Rainbow Bridge, i.e. off-world to Prism for their actual training, where they receive the first of many gifts by Xolotl, a new heart, which you can use as a spare one cause holy shit you don't treat the one you got well at all. When they return, the natives regard them as undead, since they have passed beyond the world of the living over the Rainbow Bridge, but still walk among them, as holy avatars and servants to Xolotl. Also, if you fail at the role, don't scream when some crazy witch cuts your heart out test. Well,
Any imperfections were found. The baby was rejected.
so, you got your new heart. You managed to survive the implants and the actual Astartes training. What now? Since the Rainbow Warriors are mostly Codex compliant chapter, you get sorted into one of the 10 companies. Now, we already figured out that the Rainbow Warriors are absolutely obsessed with colors. This is no different in their companies. They deviate from the normal company organization by having their company colors be, you guessed it, like a rainbow. So you got white for the first company, then the 7 colors of the rainbow for company 2 through 8, black for the 9th company, and grey for the 10th company, cause scrubs don't get colors. Now, I just said that they are mostly compliant with the Codex organization. The difference lies into those 2 off-colored companies, the 1st and the 9th. The first company is comprised of veterans of the chapter.
So what? This ain't special? All chapters do that.
I hear you say. But to get into this first company, you have to fucking die. Again. That's right. Every single member of the first company is entombed into a sarcophagus. When not needed, they are arranged in a giant circle at the heart of their fortress monastery. There they are hooked up to a virtual reality matrix, so they can communicate with each other. It's these veterans that are the actual command of the chapter, doing all the planning, both strategic and tactical. They also take to the field of battle as the usual dreadnought, painted completely white to symbolize that they are in possession of all the colors. Though they are also often seen commanding the chapter as a dreadnought from a command bridge or similar. Can you imagine one of their cruisers getting hit by some large ordnance and the dreadnought just being bounced around in there like it's some flipper machine, crushing all the bridge crew and officers? So I do hope they have the foresight to at least tie him down.
That's not going anywhere.
Anyway, Flipper Dreadnought logistics aside, it's a terrifying thought to see a world-first company deployed as dreadnoughts. The Rainbow Warriors' first company does not have a single suit of Terminator armor for that reason. Instead, each first squad of each company is equipped in Terminator armor instead, which is still a terrifying number of Terminator suits. Now, about the Rainbow Warriors' 9th company. They are complete psychos. Apart from the normal Rainbow Warriors blue with stripe, they wear a lot of black. Black trim, black knee pads. Just imagine a marine that discovered Hot Topic. Apart from that, they also wear the skin of a honey badger. They completely disregard any of the chapter's rules of harmony or warfare, cause honey badgers don't give a shit. They are 100% the end justifies the means. They will do anything, and I mean anything, to achieve victory, or impose order on a rowdy populace. Like, a mass genocide is just a Tuesday for these guys. Even Night Lords would tell these psychopaths to calm the fuck down. This got so bad that the Inquisition started to pressure the Rainbow Warriors into using the 9th Company for inquisitorial business, if they know what's good for them. So the 9th was often used to take down allies, posing as renegade marines, dirty jobs that took a lot of civilian casualties with them. Not that they gave a shit. And even counter Astartes operations. But even with the Inquisition already pressing their nose against the glass, the 9th just couldn't stop fucking murdering everyone and everything. Look at me. Look at your dog. Back to me. Look at the Rainbow Warrior. Now back to me. Your dog's fucking dead, he did it, and you're next. They murdered so much and so hard that the Inquisition was convinced they had fallen to corn. This is when the Inquisition cut their subscription to being alive and sent the Sisters of Battle after them. The Sisters launched an all-out attack on the Rainbow Warriors, with specific orders to wipe out the 9th Company. But, if you are a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So the Sisters basically killed everything with a stripe on their head that went into their line of fire. Only when the Ultramarines intervened personally did they discover that while a lot of Rainbow Warriors lay dead, none of them were of the 9th Company. Cause they knew what was coming, took their shit, and left.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Technically the 9th are outlaws and heretics, but they still serve the Emperor, so they keep murdering through the galaxy. They are nice enough, however, to leave a black lotus flower at their murder sites, so the Inquisition knows it's them. Because otherwise they might glass the entire planet, cause that shit looks an awful lot like Khorne and his demons redecorating a hive city. Finally, I want to talk about one of their preferred weapons, which is quite unique among the Astartes chapters. The Power Marquahitl, which is a Marquahitl, but with some dual cell batteries attached to it to give it that extra power. Honestly, this whole thing, the origin of their chapter symbol, the lore behind their name, the company structure, just the whole thing, it's one of the coolest and most well thought out things I ever saw in this hobby. And it's usually only reserved for the major chapters or even entire sub-factions. If you want to read Philip Sibbering's full story with every single detail, then you should visit his page. I'll leave a link in the description. Anyway, that's it for today's Double Trouble Puddle Dive on both versions of the Rainbow Warriors. I hope you liked it and maybe even learned something new today. Which version of the Rainbow Warriors is your favorite? I personally just have to go with Philip's version. The Aztec aesthetic is so unique. If Games Workshop ever decides to expand on the Rainbow Warriors, I hope they cut a deal with him and use his version. But don't just steal it, GW. No, bad GW, bad.
Swipe or no swiping.
Alrighty then. If you liked the video, then please leave a like. Maybe even subscribe if you want to see more of this nonsense. And as always, if you have any ideas for other puddle dives or niche subjects, leave them in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching, see you next time, cheers!